Why do some people make it to 90 years old in good health while not following your dietary recommendations?
You know, it's very rare that people make it to 90 years old in good health. Even in the blue zones, the majority of death doesn't get to 90 years old. They usually die, around between 85 and 88. So most people do not make it. And there's always everything's a bell-shaped curve. The bell shaped like the bottom of the bell. You'll get some person who lives to be 95, but for every one of those, there's one that died of 65 too. You know what I mean? So we've scattered the bell around 80 years old, around 80. And some may live 20 years less, and some may live 20 years more. But most people die obviously between the 75 and 85, or between 70 and 80, 70, 10 years more, 10 years less. Between 70 and 90 is where most people die. But they don't usually have good health. Most Americans suffer tremendously, and we have the worst healthy life expectancy of any population in the world in this country, where people are not having their full physical and mental capacity, not enjoying their life, and have needless medical tragedies, and their golden years are not golden at all. They're kind of filled with suffering. Now, what I'm saying right now is what we see a Nutritarian diet do, and what I've seen it do, is that it doesn't just shift the bell 20 years over, moving that bell from a centering around 80 to centering around 100, but it narrows the bell. Because a diet rich in green vegetables and other colorful plants has an ability to suppress genetic alterations that could lead to cancer and other problems. And meaning that we don't see people having the wide differences. We kind of allow people, even with those genetic weaknesses, to live a long time. So it pushes the bell later, it narrows the bell, and gives most of us the ability to live a longer life without the risks and having the problems develop in later life that could ruin your health and happiness. So a Nutritarian diet, I'm suggesting, is giving us an unprecedented opportunity in human history to take the best of the blue zones, not to duplicate a blue zone diet because they all have their flaws. They're just eating what people happen to eat in those areas. But to look at the best of those and to incorporate that with modern nutritional science, picking out the foods with the most powerful anti-cancer effects, the most powerful anti-dementia effects, and coupling that, of course, with conservative supplementation to protect us as we age, to give us the best ability to live a long, healthy life. So now we have a very high probability, not a guarantee, but a very high probability of living a long, healthy life without befalling the medical tragedies that befall other Americans.
What can we do to prevent dementia or Alzheimer's? Someone called Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes and said all the things that cause diabetes also lead to Alzheimer's. Do you agree?
Yes. I agree with that, even though it's an overly simplistic and somewhat distorted statement. It's correct, however, that the causes of diabetes also cause Alzheimer's, but there are other causes of Alzheimer's not included in that. In other words, we're saying that when you have high insulin and high glucose levels, glucose spikes destroy brain cells. And eating commercial baked goods and highly glycemic, a diet that's of high glycemic load has been shown to increase risk of breast cancer by 87% and lose brain function and cognitive brain shrinkage. So yes, it's known that diabetics have higher rates of Alzheimer's and higher rates of depression and also higher rates of cancer. We know a diet that makes you gain weight and makes your sugars high also destroys the brain. But that's not the only cause of brain shrinkage. Atherosclerosis, lack of blood flow to the brain. Eating a diet high in cholesterol, high in saturated fat, accelerates dementia. Not eating these high nutrient, antioxidant, and phytochemical containing plants. The brain has a huge demand for phytochemicals and antioxidants. And not eating sufficient, these foods I call G-bombs, G-B-O-M-B-S, greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds, and even tomatoes. We're highlighting foods that are rich in brain protective nutrients and cancer protective nutrients that people have to eat regularly. So we want to widen the diet, a large exposure to phytochemicals, not consume foods that are hormonally unfavorable or glycemically unfavorable, like pasta, white bread. I always say the whiter the bread, sooner you're dead. Right? I always tell people that obviously we want to eat most of our carbohydrates from foods that are moderately to low glycemic. And the most favorable carbohydrate are beans. For example, when you put a diabetic and you switch them from white flour products like bread and pasta onto intact whole grains like steel-cut oats or quinoa, we see diabetes risk go down by 30%. But when they switch from whole grains to beans, we see another 30% reduction in diabetic risk. What I'm saying right now, that's a 60% total reduction in risk. Beans are the most favorable carbohydrate when we're looking at glycemic load. And it's not that people can't have grains or even a potato, but we want to structure the diet so we're getting sufficient amount of vegetables, nuts and seeds, and beans, and holding the more higher glycemic carbohydrates to fill in a lower amount of our total caloric portfolio. We don't want to have our diet be mostly filled up of our caloric portfolio with foods that are higher glycemic. Furthermore, when we eat greens and beans and onions and mushrooms, those 4 foods, I'm saying 2 raw foods. The raw foods are the raw green vegetables and the raw onions, and 2 cooked foods, meaning the cooked beans and the cooked mushrooms. You particularly thicken you build a beneficial microbiome with a biofilm that covers the villi in the small intestines with the most favorable intact protection, which slows the glucose absorption through the digestive tract wall from anything you eat. So when you had that mango in the morning for breakfast, the glycemic effect of that mango was lowered because you're a regular bean and green vegetable and onion consumer. So having the favorable bacteria in the gut occurs from a high fiber, high nutrient diet, particularly when you eat G-bombs, and scientists call that the second meal effect. The second meal effect means even that next meal where you had the oatmeal with some raisins in it or some mango or banana, the glycemic effect of that meal is lowered because the day before you had your bean soup and your salad. So we've learned so much about nutritional science in the last decade, and we can help people learn the information to maximize their health. And when you eat a diet to maximize your longevity and health, you know what happens? It becomes very effective to reverse disease. It becomes therapeutically effective. So now people doesn't just prevent diabetes, but they reverse diabetes pretty quickly. They reverse heart disease effectively. They reverse early stage cancers have been occurring, and autoimmune conditions, including things like asthma and fibromyalgia and chronic migraines go away, but even serious autoimmune conditions like psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis and lupus and rheumatoid arthritis and ulcerative colitis, people are able to achieve complete recoveries. And that's the beauty of this, and so satisfying to the physician working with these people, because now we have the tools enabling complete recoveries compared to the conventional physician just giving people drugs which result in a higher risk of cancer and other serious side effects. What I'm saying right now is that you pay a price when you use a drug approach to get well. Even blood pressure medications are associated with higher rates of cancer. But the drugs used for autoimmune disease are particularly dangerous at shortening people's lifespan. So you're signing a pact with the devil to get a little better now, where the result is you're going to shorten your life and get cancer down the road. Is there a better way? Are people getting informed consent? Are they told that possibly they could reverse their disease with nutritional excellence and avoid the need for drugs that we know cause cancer? And that's what I'm so excited about. And my mission is to give people that informed consent, to let them know there's this option. Because I'm telling people you don't have to be sick. And nutritional excellence is 100 times more therapeutically effective at getting people back to normal from serious diseases than just going to the doctor and taking drugs are.